Hello everybody, welcome on the Esoteric Software stream. My name is Erika, and today we will be continuing the rigging of the character helmet. We had the character in the front position. We rigged it in the front position. Then we decided to start rigging the other position, which is the southeast direction. So we created a turnaround animation. We turned all of the meshes for the southeast direction. All of the images, we turned them into meshes for the southeast direction, and then we bound these meshes to the root so that they would not follow their bones anymore, so that we could rearrange the bones in the new position for the southeast. And then we are now going to bind these meshes to the respective bones so that they will follow the bones instead. In fact, if I were to try and rotate these bones, only some of these meshes follow because they are the ones I already bound, but we still need to bind the rest of them. Well, we can quickly check which ones are bound and which are not, like this. So we are gonna do this fine-tuning for this direction now. So I guess we need the weights panel. Okay, the weights still need to be set. We just bound this ear, the two bones, but they are not weighted at all. Also, it's not just this, but they'll require more bones. So, and that's gonna be fine because I can, in any moment, bind while in animate mode, which is something that beginners need to pay attention because in animate mode, you are more prone to move bones around compared to setup pose. To the setup mode, because that's bad. You risk to ruin your pose by slightly moving your bones, and then it's something you can't retrieve anymore, and we want to be able to go back to our steps if we make mistakes. Now let's start setting some weights for this little bunny. Now, if you're familiar with my style of rigging, I usually try to use the least possible number of vertices, but this character is not going to be rigged for a video game, but it's going to be rigged for the video tutorial, the animated video tutorials that my new colleague Siniša is going to create that will cover animation in spine from the grounds to advanced. You know what? I'm gonna actually activate the front position here in the animation so that we have it for reference. So how do we do that? We filter the tree on attachments, and then we go and search for the prefix which I made you use, and I hope you used, for your images so that they are automatically sorted by their direction. And then I press H to make them all visible, to activate them. And the turnaround is getting populated because we have this front position here, and there is an eyebrow moving, and then we have this other position here. Yeah, which is messed up because we didn't activate the south position here. Okay, so I do the same. I'm on frame 5. I select all of the southeast pieces and I press H. And we have our turnaround animation. Keyframe is 4, so I just pressed Ctrl-Shift-L to create keyframes for everything that we have here. So now this beautiful thing happens. Perfect! I think I'm gonna change the position of these bones since I didn't realize they end up so wrong here. Which is a great occasion to fix. Oh, okay, this is already weighted on the root, which means I can move it freely. And this too. Okay, so I'm able to modify the position of this bone here. So I'm gonna go a frame before. I'm gonna change this to here. So I'm gonna match the position of this here. Okay, I'm trying to get it in the middle, and this too. Okay, so I'm adjusting the position of these bones here. In such cases, I prefer to click on the bone where I know I placed something and just turn it on. And then here we don't have it anymore, so it's turned off as it should. Well, here I have my southeast cheek ready. Okay, so if this is the final position and this is where it arrives, it means that I need to push this one a bit farther. I would need to push it like here, like much earlier. So here, the switch needs to happen around here for it to be nice, truly nice. That's the maximum it can reach. And then here it needs to be this one already. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna paste it here. So maximum angle, and then I'm gonna try to get this closer, but of course I can see it until so I first need to complete all of the rig on the southeast direction before I can start making interpolation smoother. I'll edit this mesh. So for this, it will be very similar to the one we already did earlier. I'm gonna go down here in the middle, then down again. I'll try to go at the same height as this one. I am isolating this part. Now in this setup, the draw order is wrong, everything is a mess, but as I said, it's okay. It's gonna be reset to the front position once we're at a good stage with these. Also, we have so many directions to rig. Resetting it to the front direction, maybe it's not. That's likely because we created these. So what we are gonna do when this happens is we go weights view, a brand new mesh. So the solution is to rig it to the root. Then since the root doesn't move, now it's aligned correctly. Then we are on frame 5, make sure to always be on the correct frame when binding more bones. And now we can bind it to the nose and to the head inverse bone. Now I think it's likely easier to rig this if we start from the head. So let's do that. We're gonna remove the root because we're gonna give it 100% head inverse and then 50% the nose, so it stays in place, not moving anymore, because one cancels the other out. So 59 was our magical number for the front. So I'm gonna try my luck with this number first. 59 was the magical number, I already forgot. So this is not rigged yet. So we're gonna bind it to the cheekbone and the inverse bone, I believe. Let's see how this, yeah, cheek inverse. Another nice thing of the turnaround animation is that I just have to go back a couple frames to see what the attachment in the same slot for the other direction is doing. So if it moved, it means that I set the weights for this not on frame 5. Now I'm on frame 5 because I added some weights from head inverse. I needed to undo that first, and then I can click update bindings and change the weights. I am gonna rig the eyes, so I'll bind it to nose and head inverse. I'm on frame 5, so that's perfect. I'm gonna bind this one to the eye, and then I don't want to distort it. I want to select all of the weights here, set it on the eye. I'm gonna change the weights to first nose, then head inverse to 50%, and then I'm gonna check. Here it's 41, 41, 41, 49 on head inverse. Yeah, so I select head inverse 2 and I set it to 41, so it's the same number. And that seems to be working well. And I'm gonna also bind this baby here to the same bones. I'll set it to, let's see, I guess it was the same value, so let's try that first. Well, 41 doesn't work in this case. Yeah, it doesn't work. So this is because it's squashed that much, we need to change this value to something else. So I'm gonna go to this frame where it's so rect, and I'm gonna change this until it looks decent. Maybe something like this. Okay, so this ensures that it stays where it should, but I'm gonna change the values here so that it's 100% connected to features folder. I create a new animation to test this rig in this position. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new one. Head test southeast. I'll paste the same things here, and then I'll do this. Okay, I'll copy this here, and I'll place this up here and this down here. I'm pushing it a lot because I want to see the angle that I can reach with that. So it's behaving nicely. I'm not satisfied by these, so I'm gonna edit the weights. Okay, yeah, it's not that bad. And I'll go back to my turnaround so that I can bind this eye here to the pupil eye, to the pupil bone. Then I change the weights to be 100% Li, and I want to see the result in my head test animation. Okay, so the eye suffers from the same little problematic. I can reduce the influence a little bit, so there's a bit more distance here, and then I can add a little bit of influence in the turnaround animation on frame 5. I'll also bind the head inverse bone. So I'm trying this much, and when I move the eye, the result is gonna be this, which is not bad. Okay. Not to say that I'm a genius, but that worked even better than I'm not a genius because I didn't do it like consciously. But basically, I can move the pupil wherever I want because by adding the inverse influence, when I stop its position, the position of the head somewhere, the pupil remains in the correct distortion form. See here, it's squashed and it remains squashed wherever I move the pupil. And if I get it when it's expanded like this, it remains expanded like this to here. So this is what they call, you make a very happy discovery unintentional. Okay, the weights need to stay like this, which means that I have to get the influence to be this to get the result I want. Change the weights here a little bit because I don't like the way this looks when it's here. I prefer it this way. I'm gonna select this and bind it to not the jaw, nose and head inverse. Oh, I already did. Fantastic then. I'll update bindings just to make sure, and then I'll go to my turnaround to my head test animation here, and I'll change the weights. I believe 41 was the number here. So first I set the nose to 100% to remove the root influence, then 41 it is. So it's at least attached to the head. Well, it's not bad anymore. But we want to have some parts influenced a bit more. I didn't put the inner vertices, so let's do that now. As we said, when we need to modify the mesh, what we do is we change the weights to the root to 100%, so that when we go back to setup mode, it's in the correct position and we can edit the mesh without worry. So I'll create the inner vertices. I'm also gonna isolate here so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. perhaps I'm gonna add one vertex here and here, so it gives a bit more three-dimensionality. Maybe here too. Let's be fancy. So at this point I have to go back. This is a step we must not mess up. We go back here, because if I change the weights, I'll let you see. Remember where nothing was moving? Now the new weights that I created are set to the setup pose where I created them. So this causes a mess. Therefore, there's a very easy fix for this, and it's to press update bindings. Now, when I change the weights, nothing happens. So I'm gonna set this back to nose, head inverse. I forgot, was it 41? Probably yes. And now I can play. I go on the extreme for my animation, and let's see if I can emphasize a bit the shape changing. It's too few. I can even go by numeric entry to be a bit more forward, something like 61. Like, we are talking about very small numbers, because more is gonna give the effect away. Okay, so since here we set 61, the parallel for this vertex here, it's gonna be on the same panel of depth. So we set this one to 61 too. So 61. Perhaps I'm gonna even make it a little less strong. Nice. So we need to fix also the eye whites and the muzzle and the ears, and then we'll have completed the first version of this his flat face. There. So I'm gonna bind these two bad boys to their eye white bones and set their weights, and that should give, that may be enough for them. Okay, that's the result. So now I select this and I bind it to head inverse. Then I go back to my head test. I go here and I change the weights here by a tiny bit. So it's like this 2, head inverse 30, let's set it to 12. Gonna rig this one. Okay, I think I'm gonna change the mesh for my little dude here. Let's see. I can make a new one, or I can just keep this since it's round. When things are so round, it's almost better to have the least amount of vertices to disturb them, and to try to keep the curve as intact as possible. Let's try with these and see what happens. So remember, when I do this, I have to bind this on the turnaround animation. So on frame 5, I go here and I bind it to the jaw. I'll bind the jaw, head inverse, and nose. And let's try to bind this to nose and then jaw. I have to go in order. So this is gonna be the jaw. The jaw is gonna move for sure. And then I set the head inverse weights to that magical 41 number. I'm gonna also bind the this needs to be bound to the jaw, I think. Yes, to jaw and head inverse. In what degree? Oh, a bit of both. So I'll bind this to both the jaw and head inverse. And here I'll also bind the jaw again and head inverse. Here, I wanted to test the jaw open. Oh yeah. Well, it's working. It can talk. And where is his teeth? His teeth are here. Jaw and a little bit of head inverse. I need to add more nose influence and keep the weights the same. Okay. I think that's the value I need. 44. What's this? 43. So 43 it is. And it's already better. Then here I'm giving it a bit more influence. I'm gonna remove the nose influence and set this to 39 again. Ah, much better. So this was the answer after all. And here, head inverse, 39. Oh, and it's in its rightful place. We're setting them to the nose and then to the inverse at, what was it? 41? Let's try 41. So we got the basic face. Now the ears are missing, so we're gonna complete those. And I'll add the head and head inverse. Make sure to always be on the right frame of the turnaround and in not any other place to add bones to bind in the alternate poses. Remember. Then we do the same here, similar set of bones. And now first we ensure that these ears can bend, and then we add the influence so that they deform. Okay, so I'll first, that's because these weights were automatically softened and these weren't. So that's the result. So now I'm gonna soften the weights here. I like to select them in panes panels, in lines, imagine line, and I'm gonna change the ear influence here. Well, rigging these effects on the face takes time. I'm gonna change the influence so that it follows the head. So in the original front ear, the influence of head inverse is 5%. Let's see if we can recycle that amount and get the same good results also here. See? I accidentally moved that. That's why you never test on your setup poses. Weights, I select everything and I set it to 5%. I was too fast. 5, voila, just a tiny bit. So this works for the ear in the back, but it doesn't work for the ear that is now coming to the front. I need to also bind the nose. I'm on frame 5 of the turnaround animation. And then I add a little bit of nose influence. Perhaps 5. How does that look? I'm not sure. Because here the face seems to be moving a lot more than that. And it looks correct. Perhaps I'm gonna lower it a little bit. Because I'm 52. What's the result with 52? Very subtle and much better. So I can make it fly a little less if I also bind the head back. Here it's getting more and more of a mess the more I do this, and that's good. It means we're getting more done. So it's in here, and when it's here it should be more or less here. You can see now that the eyes could use better distancing. I think I want to simulate this ear being in perspective, and to do that I'm gonna select these and I'm gonna lower the nose influence to 0. Well, that worked. Also, I could select these once. Cool. Now, since I did it there, I'm gonna do it also on this side. 4 and here. And let's make it the tree. Oh, nice. It's very subtle, but this way the ears are a bit more three-dimensional. And with this, I guess we are ending today's stream. At least we completed the face, the 3D face. So that's nice. Next time we're gonna complete the body and we'll start a new direction, which I hope will be much easier. Okay, so thanks for staying with me until now. I'll see you in the next stream. And don't forget, you can download the project from the stream, the beginning and at the end, down in the description below. And see you next time. Bye!